This is the Lifetime Products crank adjusting ground basketball hoop with the tempered glass backboard. When I first saw it fresh out of the box, it looked so solid and professional, just like those big hoops at the local courts. Only now, it's actually in my own backyard. The backboard is super clear. It's got a pretty sleek look, and you can immediately tell this isn't the kind of hoop that'll rattle or fade away after a season or two outside. I wanted to film a quick review to share my experience because I've had this hoop up and in action for about 5 years now. At the time I made the purchase, I honestly wasn't sure what to expect. I remember reading a ton of reviews and feeling a little nervous about getting something actually sturdy in my backyard, mostly because the weather here gets wild, hot, humid summers, and lots of those frozen winter days. I went with the tempered glass option after realizing that the cheaper plastic backboards just don't hold up the same way, and you always hear stories about cracking or that weird plastic bounce. If you're just starting out, tempered glass refers to the same material used on pro hoops. It's heavier, gives a way better bounce off the board, and won't shatter unless something super extreme happens. Assembly honestly surprised me. I'm definitely not a handyman, and this looked intimidating when all the pieces showed up, but the manual was really clear and the parts were labeled well, so once I poured the concrete for the base and let it set, it was just a matter of standing everything up and tightening some bolts. I had a buddy help hold the backboard steady. In total, it took about an hour to get everything together once the ground was ready. I love that even though this system feels super solid and permanent, the bolt-down pole means that if I ever move, I could technically take it down and bring it to a new house, which makes the investment feel smarter. One of the key features that drew me to this model is the crank adjust system for raising and lowering the rim height. For anyone who's not familiar, the crank is an easy-to-grip handle mounted low enough for adults or older kids to reach, and it uses a screw mechanism to let you smoothly move the rim from 7.5 feet up to a full 10 feet. That means I can lower it for my youngest who just wants to shoot and dunk without needing a ladder, or raise it to regulation for my older daughter who's seriously into basketball. And if I want to work on dunks or three-pointers, all I do is turn the crank. There's a little pin you pull out to unlock the crank, make your adjustment, and then pop it back in to keep everything secure. It really is that simple, even easier than adjusting some of those telescoping poles out there. In my opinion, having a crank system is the right call for anyone whose family has multiple ages or skill levels. No more arguing over who gets to use the hoop. The Slam It Ultra Rim is another standout. That probably sounds fancy, but it just means it's built for regular use and can stand up to some hard play. Think pull-ups, dunks, or late-night shooting sessions without worrying you'll damage anything. The spring in the rim takes a beating and bounces right back, and it's got a heavy-duty nylon net that hasn't frayed at all, even with weather and lots of play. That rim stability is especially great when you're running horse or three-point shootouts with friends or kids. From my experience, the biggest thing to talk about is durability. I live in an area where weather isn't friendly. Hot southern summers, then swings to cold Midwest winters with a lot of humidity. After 5 years, I can say the powder-coated steel on this doesn't rust, hasn't chipped, and still looks almost new. The graphics on the backboard haven't faded at all. That truly surprised me, since I half expected sunlight and rain to take a toll after the first year or two. I've had hoops in the past that would tip over in storms, or slowly lean to one side, but this one just doesn't move, thanks to how it's mounted directly in the ground. As far as use goes, I'd recommend this for anyone who wants a hoop that's actually fun for all ages. Right now, my youngest tries to toss a ball up even if she barely clears the bottom of the net. My 5-year-old can play on the low setting with her friends, and my oldest, who's 12, has adjusted the hoop for her own practices and feels completely independent. I shoot around almost every weekend with some neighbors. It's become kind of a staple for gatherings. We'll play 21, standard games of basketball, or just mess around shooting. A cool thing is that the tempered glass gives the ball a real bounce off the backboard, which means bank shots actually feel normal, not rubbery or deadened like cheaper hoops. If you're wondering about maintenance, it's been basically zero so far. Now and then, I check the bolts at the ground to make sure nothing's loosened, especially after a wild storm. I keep the rim wiped down and occasionally spray off the backboard, but it honestly just takes care of itself. I had a few worries when buying. The main one was, would the hoop sink or get wobbly over time? But those fears have disappeared. Set deep into concrete, it stays upright no matter how rough the play. I also worried about installation, But as long as you have basic tools and maybe an extra set of hands, you can totally do it yourself. I can see why this hoop has a solid reputation. Seeing it in person every day, it's clear why so many reviews are positive. If you're newer to basketball setups, you'll notice this model has a 54-inch backboard. That means the clear glass area is big enough to practice all sorts of shots and gives you enough space to do layups and bank shots comfortably. The square, two-piece steel pole is thick and steady. The whole thing just looks really clean and professional, parked at the edge of the driveway or backyard. Overall, it's perfect for growing families, for anyone serious about practice, or if you just want a hoop that feels professional and can handle both the weather and all kinds of players. I wouldn't hesitate to buy it again, knowing what I now know about how it holds up and how much fun it's brought to our home. In conclusion, I'm honestly impressed by how much value the Lifetime Crank Adjust in ground basketball tempered glass backboard has offered over the years. Between the solid pro-style look, the easy height adjustment system, and the fact that it just keeps performing with basically zero signs of wear, I'm glad I invested in this model. If you're considering a serious home basketball setup that's going to last and keep looking and feeling great, this is my go-to recommendation. Check the comments of this video for a link to see the current pricing of the Lifetime Products Crank Adjust in ground basketball tempered glass backboard.